Hey, my name's Aaron. Some of you may know me as Aaron E, and this is my EA guide. I want to preface this by saying that this is going to be an incredibly rough video without any editing and will likely be replaced by a better made, more professional style video if it's needed or wanted. This guide is going to show you how to go from the start of act, kind of, all the way up to the end game, kind of. It's going to show you the steps by step to get there, and it's going to show you the focuses to go on to make EA work. Now, people may think that there are other guides out there, and there's Zizarin's guides, and there's guides on the forums, and all those things you can follow, and that's fine. But I feel that with my last 4 to 5 months of theory crafting and playing and testing, I have come up with something better. Now, if you're looking for a guide for solo self-found, this may not be for you. If you're looking for a guide for hardcore, that's probably better to go to Zizarin's guide, because this isn't for hardcore. My EHP is not going to be as good as his, but my damage will be drastically better. So I will make a few assumptions with your leveling and where you're going to be and when you're going to get your ascensions and all that stuff, and I will show you step by step on how each different change makes an effect. So level 1 to, I would say, about 30, which is about the end of Act 2, somewhere in Act 3, depending on how much you're skipping killing monsters, is where I would stop to EA. This is what your tree is going to look like. You get to choose your skill for leveling. I personally went for Purifying Flame. I've done Rolling Magma with Firewall. You can do whatever you prefer. You're going to path up the intelligence tree. I've in the past gone up the spell damage or cast speed, gone up here. But I feel that for the first 30, probably less levels, it's not that wanted because you don't want to spend all the regrets. The one I do get is this, because the spell damage and cast speed is super nice. We'll then path over to here for the elemental overload, because the extra elemental damage is really nice. And we're over here for the damage over time multiplier, because this is going to be great for EA. We'll then come over down to here for the fire stuff, and the center we're getting the fire exposure. They're coming down for the aura effects, and auras have an increased effect on you. And then we're going down here to get the totem stuff. This stuff will be removed, and it's just dawned on me, and I don't want to remake this video, that I haven't removed this later into the build, but that's fine. This is temporary. I know some people like to keep it. I don't. So this is where you're going to be starting. Your gear you find, whether you want to buy your leveling items, that's down to you. At which this point, you're swapping to EA. Now, the reason you're swapping now is because at this stage, I feel that you not only have some good nodes for it, but you're also able to go and do your first ascension. Now, you see that with the tree done at 51 points in, which they estimate require level 44, you'll be on Act 5, you're doing 56,000 DPS, which is okay. But if you were to then ascend, just get your first ascendancy into Elementalist and go down here, you're able to get the damage over time stuff for Ignite, and your DPS quite literally doubles. Now go to the config. We do need to remove some of this stuff because I had this done from the later stages. I didn't realize this actually saved for all versions of the skill tree. Same with the items, but this is sitting on 78,000 DPS, and I will go over the items at the next tree. So to review here, I've removed this one skill point, as it doesn't do much for you, as you can see. You gain 0.1% HP, which is 5, and nothing else. This is also the same. I believe that this is worth keeping for now. I've realized there's another skill point to add later on. Whoops. And this is where I would end. Although, if you had one more skill point, purely because I've missed it myself, going for Ancestral Bond is super strong, as you can see. What this does is it removes your ability to do damage yourself, but gives you an extra totem to do damage for you. And at this stage of the build, with the items I've picked out for us, we are sitting at 7 totems, which is a little bit much to cast, but we will fix that later on. This is where you should be pushing for. This is going to be quite level 44, as I've said. And now for the end of act, I've made some assumptions here that you're going to be level 67. If you're doing the act by yourself, that's not too unrealistic. If you're just starting maps, you're going to get there very quickly. Now, there are some tweaks you can make, some like change you can make. It's preference. I will be making a live change. As I said before, I've made a mistake. I made a few mistakes actually. But this is where we're currently sitting. We have pathed over to Hired Killer. There is a few reasons for this. First, you're going past another evasion and spell suppression node, which is always nice. There's some well-needed decks for later on. These are obviously life, and the recover life on kill is massive. When your ignites are spreading to basically the entire screen and you're killing things very, very quickly, you're going to be continually healing your entire health pool back, which is good for when you swap over to having life tap. We've passed down to here. We've grabbed these ones for bow damage and damage over time. You also get phasing, which is nice for EHP, but I've not included that for your config. We've also grabbed up elemental equilibrium. There's some misconception with how this works, so I'm going to quickly clear that up. If you hit an enemy with a specific element, be it fire or lightning or cold, the other two it's now weaker to. So if you hit it with, say, cold, it's then weaker to fire and lightning. And same with lightning, we do fire and cold, and fire will be lightning and cold. Now, it's not a matter of, oh, you can hit it with all three, and it's weak to all three. It sort of bugs out quite a bit. So if you get flat fire on any of your gear, it adds the fire damage to this, and it breaks elemental equilibrium. So if you have at least some form of flat damage from cold or lightning, and nothing for fire, this will work for you. And it adds a lot of damage. I might show it here, but that's because I've changed the config again, which we'll be changing back once I finish explaining. Then I come across to here to get a bunch of decks and a bunch more attack speed and evasion. It's good for HP and a decent bit for damage. And come on here again for a bunch more tankiness. Then path down here and here. I've seen commonly people path here. I don't like it. It takes more skill points, and with here you have to get this dual socket for a lethal pride, which is really strong. You can either get lethal prides for burning damage or ignite deals damage faster, or you can get ones for life, as you'll see in my build, which I'll show at the end, is what I've opted to, because everything else is so tuned for DPS. Then path down here, you can later on grab this frenzy charge. And you want your left before right, because these are incredibly powerful for you. You get more totem damage and attack speed, and you get panopticon, I think that's how it's pronounced. And what this does is it allows you to have an extra totem, which is by far the most important part of what it does. And then you finish off getting this, which gives you a bunch more armor per totem. And as EA struggles a bit to getting tanky, this is important. Now, after that, you can go to the right and get some more damage elements and damage over time. I think I showed it, but here we've gotten the increased duration, which none of this conception I'm going to fix. I'm just going to tick that and remove these, go down here, and that taunt we had before is going to go here. So when you place a totem down, it will taunt things around you, and ballistas count as totems, which is really nice. Now let me cover up a misconception here. There's a lot of information going around that EA needs to have the shortest skill duration physically possible. And that's because you want to be exploding the arrows faster, and it makes sense on paper, but that is not what you want. That's not how that works. What they actually mean is you have a maximum fuses you can hit, which is 20. And once you've hit 20, you don't generally want to spend many points on increased duration past the 20. If your damage is high enough, even with groups of monsters, you might get, say, 15 fuses on multiple monsters. That will still kill them. And when you're fighting just a single boss, it will always get the 20, and then it will explode as soon as it can do. So if I was to go, but if you're not getting the 20 fuses at all, You need more duration because more fuses is so crucial. So for example, we have 314,000 DPS. A way you can test how many fuses you have is swapping it from maximum sustainable fuses to number of fuses. Then with here, you can click the plus and go up until you reach your damage from before. So in here, we were on 314,000, which is 16 fuses. If we go back, it's the same number. Now, if we artificially push this to 20, that alone is a third more DPS, despite only being a quarter more fuses because it's an exponential growth. Now, there are a few ways you can achieve this, but the easiest way is with things that give more duration. Now, a lot of guides will say more duration is bad. You can clearly see with this that your ignite DPS and your total damage per ignite is going up. The most important figure is your ignite DPS here. And if we were to hypothetically grab some more skill effect duration, you can see now this isn't doing more damage. We're now at that 425,000, which means if we put this to 20 fuses, we're at the 425, which is why the middle one doesn't give you anything. And you shouldn't get this one afterwards because you're already at that max duration. That is what some people mean when they say you want shorter duration. There is a cutoff point where you want to hit the 20 fuses and then be as close to that wire as humanly possible. Now, if we go over to your skills, I'll show you how I've set this up. Let's show the items first. You can see that this is quite a realistic thing. I've been on trade about 5 minutes ago. I'm assuming it's going to be about half an hour since this video has been posted. And I've picked up the cheapest quill ring I could find, which was 1C. The cheapest skirmish I could find, that implicit can probably go to 30%. I've picked up, admittedly, not the cheapest gold room, but the cheapest gold room with good resistances, because again, this is end of act, because we're staying cheap. You might think to yourself, well, this is bad gear, I can get better than that. That's the point. I've got a tabular with no implicit, which is standard. I found some gloves. There's a mistake there. So I've got these gloves purely for defenses, but you'll notice it adds 7 to 13 fire damage to attacks. That breaks EE, so we need to replace those at some point. But again, they're only 20 chaos orbs, and it's important that you notice these things. I obviously was rushing a bit to get this all together because I wanted to make this video, but that's a good thing to notice. If I'm looking at someone's build to try and fix it, one of the first things I do is I go, no flat fire, no flat fire, no flat fire. Oh, look, there's flat fire. That's an issue. And I'll show you how much of an issue it is later. The boots, I've gone for good movement speed-ish with some life and resistances. Again, these cost me 20 chaos orbs. The amulet, I've gone for a little bit of chaos resistance, the lightning resistance to cap our res. I wanted some life on there, couldn't do it. A little bit of flat elemental damage, which is okay. As long as you have at least one source of it for the elemental equilibrium, you're fine. And damage over time multiplier, which is important. I've also allocated watchtowers, which is this node over here, which gives you +1 to maximum totems. Now I know that some people path towards here by going, it's commonly seen that people do this. Oops. That's not very over to here, and I can see it. It's not an awful idea. I'm not a fan because these totems, these things here, these individual ones later on will do nothing for you. So that's 3 wasted points. You won't need the dex. It's 4 wasted. Bit of life here, but you can get it elsewhere. Dex they won't need. So it's like all of the points from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are just wasted, which is a lot. This is decent, but I don't think it's worth pathing away here. I personally end here because the movement speed and suppress is quite nice. Sometimes I've looked into going here, unsure. You'll see that at my end build. But also you're having to path more to get over here. I just genuinely don't think it's a good idea. I think that spending the few points to path over to here, which some people anoint, but a lot of people don't even recommend hired killer, and just anointing watchtowers is the way to go. But if you back to your items, your ring has the flat lightning, It has accuracy, which was really needed. It has more lightning resistance, which, to be honest, we don't really need, but it's there. It has an open spot for benchcraft, so you can put like life on this, for example. And it has elemental damage with attack skills, which does scale the EA, and some chaos res because tankiness. Second ring, more chaos res because I'm just trying to get this to be cheap whilst being good. It has damage return multiplier and accuracy, which is really important, and it has some life. These rings are bad. They are cheap, they are cheerful, but they do the job. And we have a Diadian Dawn belt. Now you can get these for as low as 3 or 4 chaos orbs, but I wanted one with good resistances on them. Because it's a unique belt, you're not likely to replace it later on. And other than things like better implicits, this is best in slot for us. So we keep this. So that's why I put a little bit more money, going up to 20 chaos orbs for a good resistance one. You notice I've not put any flasks, because I know that a lot of people can fake things or temporarily boost stats with flasks, so I've entirely avoided that. If we go to the tree, you'll notice that we've actually ascended a second time, and we've gained Shaper of Storms. I see some people going over to Bastion of Elements, but I don't personally like it. The damage is pretty bad, and the HP gain I've seen to be negligible. So Shaper of Storms is really nice. This means we can go to our config, and now we'll be able to tick the things I had earlier. So we have friendly charges, I'll explain later. We'll have, we could or should have life tap, depending on how you want to do it. But for now, we're leaving it unticked. You won't see convergence, you're not fully ascended. They've is ignited, because from our first ascendancy is a one hits always ignite, all damage can ignite. And you'll be shocked, because the exact same thing is said here. Hits always shock, damage, all damage can shock. And hit them for lightning damage. This is what procs your EE. Now I know technically this specific setup won't do because you need to replace the gloves, but it's not the end of the world. If you're going to move the gloves, you get gloves with a little bit of fire res, a little bit of cold res, and maybe a bit of life, you're sorted. And we're sitting at being level 67. You can actually do that a bit earlier than that because you'd have 24 quest points. You could do it at level 65. You have an HP of 12.6k, which is okay, and you have a DPS of nearly 700,000. I know some builds that end at 2 or 3 million. You've ended acts that high, and your budget is what? I didn't add the price there, but that was 1 chaos orb. So 1, 2, 7, 11, 31, 51, 81. I had added a price for that, but I think it was about 20 chaos orbs. 101, 121, 124 chaos orbs. That's near enough half a divine orb for all of this. And your skills, I've put explosive arrow and put no quality. Again, I'm keeping this as realistic as possible. Level 12, ignite proliferation, 12, ballista totem, burn damage, elemental damage with attacks, and swift affliction, all at level 12. Every single skill is level 12. But I think it's a somewhat realistic level to have these at. We have Lightning Spire Trap. The reason for this is that I think it is a better choice than Arcanist brand, as some people use, and it basically just procs your combustion, which will lower the enemy's fire resistance. You have Fire Surge as well, which again, if you hit an ignited enemy, puts a floor fire under them, which is a bit of burn damage, but it also increases the fire damage they take, which is really nice. I know a lot of people put Molten Shell on their cast when damage taken. It might be okay. I personally not a fan. I like having Molten Shell on my left click, especially as we're going to be having down here at a later stage. You'll see in my build we go for this, and what this does is it increases the cooldown rate and then the duration of Molten Shells, which actually has an uptime of about 78%, which is really strong. Flame Dash, obviously, and Enduring Cry. I don't use this too often, but it's nice to have a panic button as like a oh shit, I need some health. I don't, my potions aren't up. Like let's say you're against the boss or whatever. Next up we have the Ores. I have kept this low because we are sitting at, so that we have a decent little bit of mana left. Because we have Malevolence for the damage over time, we have Determination for the armor, and we have Dread Banner for the mitigations. You can turn this off if you wanted to, it doesn't hurt your HP that much, and you have more mana. What I personally recommend is as soon as you've got yourself over to here for higher killer and you're healing a bunch, and you have some other way to spread your ignites, which would be I think it's an Eater World implicit, but it's definitely on gloves. You can then go to your explosive arrow and swap out Ignite Proliferation for Life Tap. And that is not only going to be a lot more damage, it is going to be a lot better because Ignite Proliferation doesn't quite work the way it's meant to work. It's a little bit buggy. And again, that's level 12. And then you can go to the config and we can type that we, oh, whoopsie, but I just type twice. So we go to the config and type that we have Life Tap. And damage then 651k. And the nice thing with EA is that it scales so heavily with its gem level, it is ridiculous. Like if we were to put this to say level 20 and did no other change, your damage is from 651,000 all the way up to 1.3 million nearly. You just double your DPS from leveling 1 gem from 12 to 20, and yes, buying level 21 gem, which I do recommend at some point, does help. Now I know that on the tree I've added these increased duration. What you can do to help cover this, or not that, it seems it's, oh no, sorry, it's got the fake 20 fuses there from testing before. One thing you can do as well is get yourself a higher quality EA, and that will help cover a lot of it. If you're still struggling a bit, your options are something more attack speed, something more accuracy, or increased duration. If you want to see if the accuracy is going to fix your problems, you go to the custom config and type something like plus 500 accuracy. So we see that the damage went up to 1.4 million, which is the same as the 20 fuses. So we could potentially just go for more accuracy. And you can then change out the number to see just how much more you need. So this build probably needs about 100. About 100 accuracy is all you need to get that, and then you don't even need to worry about the increased duration stuff yet. Because eventually you're going to change the quill rain and you won't have that attack speed, then you'll want the increased duration to get the 20 fuses. But this is a good start. You're spending less than half a div, none of your gems are awakened, none of them are level 21. Well, that was. And your best way to progress from this stage is simply just to get yourself up to say level 75, where you can go and start adding things on, like the increased duration if you want that. With a bow change, you can go for cloth and chain here for some more HP, get yourself more evasion as armor, get yourself some life, get yourself this grace recovery, get yourself this Mage Bane. You can go over here if you want to get these ones here for more elemental damage and resistances to take away some of the requirement on the gear. And you have a couple of options. I'll come back now and go to my current build, teach EA. Come back here to my current build, probably here with Boom. I don't know how up to date this is, so I'm just going to quickly re-import this. Maximum fuses, you'll see that versus a non-boss, I'm sitting at nearly 35.8 million, and I have 3 warnings down here. The mana issue, I don't know why it says that. I think it might be a bit bugged. If we go through all my skills, you'll notice I have life cost there. Mana cost for... Oh, there we go. That is true, actually. As I've mentioned in my written guide in my Discord server, not my Discord server, for my guild's Discord server, you'll notice that I've said that I personally, for now, do not use use Defiance Banner whilst I am dealing with bosses, because I need some more mana preservation efficiency, which you can get via jewels such as this one here. 3% increase mana reservation. If I put that one more of those anywhere, such as I gain one more level and put it there, just for temporary, that fixes my issues. It's, or, you know, I write other jewels or whatever. It's very easy to do. So I put this back to my explosive arrow now. Max fuses, I'm sitting at 103,000 HP. That's not quite accurate. I will show you why later, but we're sitting at 35.8 million DPS. We have 2 warnings down here. We have exceeded the ignite and damage over time limit of the game. It's quite a funny warning to see. We swap this over to standard boss. We have the same DPS and the same warnings. We go to Guardian. We have the same warnings and the same DPS. We go to pinnacle. We lose the warning and we're at least 13 million DPS. And there are ways to improve this by quite a bit, such as finishing off the cluster jewel I was going to do, and another cluster, getting a better large cluster. I fixed my accuracy issues now, but you can go for slightly better gear than I've got, of which we're going to go over quickly. My config, you'll notice, is the exact same as before. We have friendly charges, life tap, and convergent. We have ignite, shock, and lightning damage. The only difference here is the convergence. The reason we have that is the last 2 ascendancies goes to here, where you go down over here, and you gain convergence if you hit a unique enemy. And obviously, without convergence, if we're fighting anything that isn't a boss, we are still DPS capped. So it doesn't really matter if I have that on for everything. So, skills. It's very, very similar to the one before, except that we have level 20 or 21 gems with good quality gems here. We have awakened element damage with attacks, awakened deadly element, and awakened burning damage. Light Spiral Trap is exactly the same, no variant ones, they're just level 20. Over to the auras, because we have an enlightened gem, we're able to fit in the grace, and we've also got ourselves blood rage, which we use for friendly charges when we're not fighting a boss. This can be improved a bit by doing things like 21 determination and 20% quality to Defiance banner, which is currently turned off, but you can do that for a little bit more HP. It's not a massive amount, but it helps. Over here, again, no varieties, no any qualities, which does actually help, or level 21, which does technically help a bit. But there's room for slight improvements there, but all of it is fairly achievable. And lastly, again, we have no variants. The life tap has actually now been leveled up. This is now level 19 or 20, doesn't really matter. Enduring Cries only 16 or 15 quality. And it's fairly standard. Now, the reason why I say my HP isn't quite this high, and because otherwise my HP would say it's higher than Zizaran's hardcore build, is that we have a big reliance on Molten Shell. Without it, our HP is currently struggling a bit. And I have made a disclaimer about this. The HP struggles. But the nice thing is that our Molten Shell has about 80% uptime, so it's generally okay. But because the damage is so high, you do have the option to try to lower your damage to increase your defenses. And the biggest way to do that is getting more life. And as I said before, I've got a Lethal Pride jewel here, which is giving me 4% life there, 4% life there, burning damage, life, and chance to double damage, which doesn't help us. So it's all good stuff. You go over here and get yourself the friendly charge for more damage, but there's options. And we're at level 95, so level 100 gives us more life as well. If we go to the items, we have our bow, which is a fractured bow with a bunch of ellie damage. It has the +3 to gems. It has damage over time multiplier, which was a lucky roll. A bit of lightning resistance, which is unfortunate, but it's fine. And it has a benchcraft attack speed, because I needed that for the full 20 users. Our quiver, I got very lucky on early into the league to buy this. It has element damage with attacks as an implicit. We have the damage over time multiplier, we have the flat LE damage, and we have resistances like crazy and bow damage. You could get a quiver with better damage than this, but with these levels of resistances, it is going to be tough. The helmet, I spent a bunch on this. It is a Blizzard Crown with a Warlord and Redeemer influence, so we have the Ignites doing damage faster and nearby enemies have low resistances. It has benchcrafted life, and it has a nice little bit of damage for the implicits. Now, you could absolutely sort this out for a rare helmet and benchcraft, craft a bunch of life and resistances and stuff on it to cover what I have in the quiver with even more health, whilst having some really nice Eldritch implicits like flammability has an increased effect. Body armor, you could go for the Hyres Ire, I don't know how you pronounce that, which is a solid early body. It gives you good spell suppression chance, it gives really good damage. Later on, you're going to go for something like this, and to be honest, this one isn't that great. You could easily improve upon this, but the main point is that it gives armor evasion at good levels, and it has the implicits of determination and non-curse auras for a bunch more defenses, as well as having some spell suppression. Gloves, there's the implicit I was talking about. It has this spread. I've also got the increased accuracy rating, because as I said before, I'm needing that for the 20 fuses. It also has some more attack speed, accuracy, and life put onto it. Boots, we have movement speed, life, and resistances. Pretty simple. Decent bit of armor to help. The amulet, we've gone for attributes to cover those. We also have damage over time, and we have elemental damage attacks, and the same allocation of watchtowers. The Polaric Devastation ring is a really solid ring. If you have it on the left ring, it's the best in slot for EA. It does so much damage. It is crazy. If you have money to spend, I would absolutely go for it. The second ring is mostly defenses. We also have some accuracy there and some attributes that we needed, but also gives some chaos res, some light res, and then a bit of damage with it. Belt, exact same as what I showed you, but I have determination as an implicit. This cost me, I think, 15 chaos orbs, just because it gives me a bit more tankiness. Flasks, not tipped. As I said before, I don't want to be pushing these. For jewels, we have a large cluster jewel that gives us Calamitous, Martial Prowess, and Tempered Arrowheads. This is nice for more damage, for increased duration, and for accuracy. We have a Viridian Jewel, which gives us the Corrupted Blood Prevention, which is nice. It gives a bit of attributes, which I think we needed, and it gives mana reservation efficiency, as I've said we need, and some accuracy. With a medium class jewels, Ancestral Echo and Reach. The Ancestral Reach is not ideal. You want Sleepless Sentries, I believe, which are far better because they gives you Onslaught for movement speed. But these are going to give you Onslaught, give you attack speed, cast speed, Totem, going to last longer. It's all around good. Unnatural Instinct is a fairly recent one I've picked up, not super needed. You could technically copy my build exactly if you were level 100. All this does is, in the previous build guides I showed you, we have these points here. Having this saves you these skill 4 skill points. So if you're level 99, you could just have these 4 here and just have another jewel here for anything else you want. We have a jewel here for accuracy rating and mana reservation efficiency, which is good. The damaging elements do damage faster, is always nice for damage. Not always needed, and then there's the life lethal pry for life. If I was to lower my skill duration by any margin, either through there or via here, I will lose some damage because I'm going down from 20 fuses. But if I increase it by any margin, it does not do anything for me. So like I said before, I'm on that edge of I'm just about hitting 20 fuses. And that is so important to maximizing your damage. There is another video on this channel and in my guild's Discord server where I've shown how this build plays versus Elder, not Uber Elder. The standard Elder, because it's more about a playstyle than a showcase. So check that out if you want to see how the build plays. I'm still working on this and making a few changes. Most specifically, I'm trying to get my HP higher because I think the damage is already really good. Things like Elder die very, very quickly. Things like Shaper dies quickly. Cirrus, they're all laughable. So I just want my attack list up, and as I make changes, I'll either put update videos or updates in the guild's Discord server. That guild is called Imperial. If you want to join, drop a message and I will happily invite you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I will be making another video after this showing you how I've made this bow, because the rest of it is all buyable or is not too bad to get a replacement. This bow is pretty crucial, and I'll show you how to make it, because if you buy this bow, you'd probably be spending 20, 30, 40 divine orbs, but you can make it for a fraction of the price. So stay tuned for that. Sorry it's taken so long. Like I said, in the future I'll probably replace this with a much better and much more neatly formatted video, but I hope that anyone who has watched the whole thing, I'd be surprised if you do, has learned a bunch of stuff, and hopefully it's made you want to learn this build. Thank you much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.